Spetsnaz GRU. The cold hits you at the base of your skull before it hits anywhere else. That's the first thing you learn about the Russian winter. Not the temperature, the way it finds you. Not through your jacket or your boots. Through the back of your neck, where the skin is thin and the body has no protection. You learn to stop feeling it. That takes about 2 years. You have been standing motionless in a tree line outside Donetsk for 4 hours, waiting for a convoy that was supposed to arrive at 2200. It is now 0130. Your hands know the rifle. Your hands have always known the rifle. No unified command structure above your team level. No official acknowledgement you are here. No extraction plan if this goes wrong. Just the tree line and the road and the convoy that is now 90 minutes late. Your partner is 7 meters to your left. You haven't spoken since sunset. You don't need to. You've run this together 40 times in training and 11 times in places the Russian government officially has no soldiers. Your younger brother joined the regular army last year. He asked you what Spetsnaz was like. You told him it was fine. He asked what you actually did. You said reconnaissance. He looked at you for a long time and then nodded. He knows you well enough not to ask again. At 0147, lights appear on the road. You count the vehicles, 3, not 4. Something has changed. You hold, your partner holds. The lead vehicle stops 40 meters short of the position. A door opens. A man gets out. He walks to the tree line with a flashlight. He stops 3 meters from your partner. He is looking at his phone. He is not looking for you. He doesn't know you exist. He finishes whatever he came to do. He gets back in the vehicle. The convoy moves. You don't exhale for another 30 seconds. The mission completes in 8 minutes. By dawn, you are 60 kilometers away, and the Russian Ministry of Defense has no record you were ever there. Spetsnaz GRU was built for wars that were never supposed to be wars. It has never had a shortage of work. Alpha Group. You are the last line. That is not a phrase. That is the only thing standing between 14 people in an apartment block in Moscow and the fact that nobody is coming to negotiate. 3 armed men. Children among the hostages. The call came at 0300. You had 11 minutes to brief and 4 to execute. Alpha runs direct action hostage rescue in a country where hostage situations tend to end one way, regardless of negotiation. You grew up in Krasnodar. Your father was a police officer. You watched him come home from Beslan in 2004. You were 9 years old. You didn't understand everything you saw in his face when he came through the door. You understand it now. They don't want men who want to be heroes. They want men who can sit in a stairwell for 6 hours waiting for an order, and then execute in 4 seconds without hesitation and without adrenaline compromising the trigger. You are that man. You have a daughter. She is 6. She draws horses. Last week she drew you in uniform, and you asked her what you were doing in the picture, and she said, protecting people. You didn't correct her. You breached the door on the count. The room clears. Not 2 of the 3 hostage takers are down before they understand what entered the room. The 3rd raises his weapon toward a child in the corner. He doesn't finish the movement. Every hostage walks out. 14 people. You file your report at 0530. You drive home in the early light. Your daughter is still asleep. You make coffee. You sit at the kitchen table and listen to the building wake up around you. Doors, footsteps, someone's radio. At 7:15, she comes downstairs in her pajamas and asks if you just got home. You say yes. She asks if you're tired. You say a little. She climbs onto your lap and falls back asleep. You don't move. Alpha Group was created because someone had to be. The cost of being ready is that you are always ready. Vimple, nobody outside a very small room knows what Vimple does. That is not an accident. If Alpha is the unit you call for a hostage situation, Vimple is the unit you call when the hostage situation cannot officially exist. You protect nuclear facilities, strategic installations, the operations that, if they failed, would not appear on any news channel because the Russian government would never confirm they happened. Your training covers 2 extra years beyond Alpha into areas that have no civilian equivalent. Language, cover identity. The ability to become someone else completely and maintain that identity under interrogation for 72 hours. You have done this. Once under actual interrogation by a foreign intelligence service that believed your cover completely and released you after 40 hours. You never broke. You never considered breaking. Your wife has asked you once what would happen if you were captured in a real operation. You told her it was a theoretical question. She said she knew that. She asked anyway. You didn't answer. She has never asked again. Tonight you are at a nuclear facility outside Chelyabinsk. Your team of 6 has been here for 4 days embedded as maintenance workers. You know every corridor, every guard rotation, every camera angle. When the threat materializes at 0230, there are 2 of them, and they are armed, and they have been inside the facility for 6 hours before your team locates them. 4 minutes of work. The facility director will be told there was an equipment malfunction. The equipment is fine. You were never here. Vimple operates in the space between what a country admits it does and what it actually does. That space is larger than most people imagine. SS. Oh. You are Russia's answer to a question that took 50 years to ask. Direct action at the highest level. Precision raids. The operations that cannot be conducted by conventional forces because conventional forces leave footprints. You do not leave footprints. Your unit draws from the best of every special operations branch in the Russian military. The selection process doesn't advertise. You were approached by a colonel who had watched your performance in 3 deployments and said 4 words. Are you interested? You said yes before he finished the sentence. Your father spent 22 years in the Soviet Army. He died having never seen combat. He used to say that was the best possible outcome for a soldier. You disagreed when you were young. You are less certain now. You have seen more combat in 4 years than he saw in 2 decades. Tonight, the mission is a high-value target in Syria. A weapons facilitator moving surface-to-air missiles to groups that have already used them against Russian aircraft. 2 buildings, 12 minutes. No civilians to be harmed. The brief is precise. You've rehearsed this twice today in a mock layout built from satellite imagery. The door opens at 0215. The target is located at 0218. There is a child in the room. Nobody mentioned a child. She is maybe 4 years old and she is sitting on the floor next to the target, and she looks at you with the complete absence of fear that children have before they understand what fear is for. 3 seconds. You make the call, you move her to the corner, you complete the mission. By 0227, the team is back in the vehicle. The facilitator will not move any more missiles. By morning, Russian state media will not report anything. You think about the child for a long time on the drive back. You don't mention her in the debrief. Some things belong to you alone. SSO was built to give Russia the capability it watched others develop for half a century. The men inside it are still learning what that costs. SOBR, you are what happens when the state decides patience is over. You go through the door when the situation has moved past negotiation and into the space where organized crime meets political violence. No room for hesitation, no room for the part of yourself that wonders if there was another way. You were a police officer in St. Petersburg for 6 years. You were good. Your unit commander put your name forward for selection in 2018. The training broke 7 men in your cohort before the first month ended. Men who were strong, men who were fast, men who simply could not maintain the level of sustained violence that the program requires without losing the part of themselves that knows when to stop. That part is the hardest to train, knowing when to stop. Your wife asks you sometimes what you do on operations. You tell her law enforcement. She knows it's more than that. She has learned not to ask further. She sees it in the way you sit in restaurants with your back to the wall, the way you assess every room you enter within 4 seconds. She doesn't say anything. She just watches you. You have been watching her watch you for 3 years and you still don't know what she sees. Tonight, the operation is a criminal network in Yekaterinburg. 17 targets across 4 simultaneous locations. Your team takes location 3, a warehouse on the edge of the industrial district. 6 men inside. The door comes down at 400. The room is clear in under 90 seconds. 3 men are in custody. 2 ran. 1 reached for something that was not a phone. Your report says he presented a threat. He did. You go home at 700. Your wife is making breakfast. She doesn't ask. You don't explain. You sit down and eat. SOBR exists because some problems don't resolve themselves. It resolves them. Zaslan. You don't exist in any database. Not the FSBs, not the SVRs, not the GRUs. You are the unit the SVR does not acknowledge, which is why you are sitting in a cafe in Beirut reading a newspaper and watching a man 3 tables away who has been selling intelligence to a Western agency for 14 months. You have been here for 7 weeks. Your cover is a Lebanese-Russian trade consultant. Your apartment is in Hamra. You speak Arabic with a Lebanese accent, Russian with no accent at all, and French well enough to be mistaken for someone who grew up in Lyon. You have lived under 6 cover identities in the last 7 years. Each one becomes real after about 3 weeks. The problem is that when you return to your actual name, it takes longer each time. You go through the same training pipeline as SVR intelligence officers, and then 2 more years into paramilitary operations that the SVR requires in countries where it cannot rely on host nation security services. You are not a spy. You are the person the spy calls when the situation moves past intelligence collection and into something else. The something else has a name inside the SVR. You do not use that name outside secure facilities. The man 3 tables away finishes his coffee. He pays. He stands. He walks toward the door. You do not follow him. You already know where he is going. You already know what happens next. You fold your newspaper, you leave exact change. You walk in the opposite direction. Tomorrow he will not appear for his scheduled contact with the Western agency. The agency will wait 48 hours before acknowledging something is wrong. By then you will be in a different city with a different name and a different story that is already starting to feel true. Zaslon operates in the shadow of an organization that already operates in the shadows. That is not a coincidence. That is the architecture. Naval Spetsnaz. The water is 4 degrees and you have been in it for 51 minutes. This is not the coldest water you have trained in. You do the work that cannot be done from the surface and cannot be done by anyone who has not spent years making peace with the dark and the cold and the silence 40 meters below. You grew up in Vladivostok. Your grandfather was a submariner. He told you once that the sea doesn't care who you are. You were 12 years old. He died the following winter. You joined naval infantry at 18 with that sentence already in your head. You have thought about it in every body of water since. Selection is 2 years. What remains at the end is a small number of men who have genuinely stopped being afraid of the water. Not comfortable, not at peace. Simply no longer afraid. There is a difference. Tonight the mission is the hull of a vessel in Sevastopol Harbor, a foreign intelligence asset. The rebreather on your back makes no bubbles. Nothing rises to the surface. Nothing gives you away. You surface 2 meters from the hull. The metal is cold through your gloves. You work without thinking. Your hands have done this in training so many times that the darkness is irrelevant. The cold is irrelevant. There is only the surface and the tool and the sequence of movements you have run 400 times. The device attaches in 4 minutes. You submerge. You move back along the bearing you memorized. You surface 200 meters from the dock. You wait, you listen, then you move. The vessel will develop a problem in approximately 72 hours. It will not be a suspicious problem. It will be the kind of problem that aging vessels develop. Nobody will look for you because nobody knows you were there. Your grandfather would have understood that.